Hello and welcome to Sports Talk, a wrap-up of the winter sports season at East Brunswick High School. Hi, I'm Ken Saroka, and I'm joined in studio by Frank Noppenberger, Supervisor of Athletics for East Brunswick Public Schools. And Frank, we're here talking about the winter sports season during spring break, and right outside as we're taping this right now, the snow is coming down. So, it seems appropriate, right? We're talking about the winter sports season.
And we had, of course, cancel some events because of the snow, but we will endure as always. But this winter season will go down as one of my most memorable as a athletic director, Ken, and because of the individual accolades, because of the team accolades, and successes, but just a great school spirit throughout the whole year. So I'll always remember this one with a special feeling. Yeah,
it did seem like with Superstorm Sandy that we did kind of get disconnected from the school. I mean, everything was going well in the sports season, and then basically a 2-week shutdown. But here, with a relatively mild winter as of right now, we've had a contiguous sports season and some wonderful accomplishments here. Right. And we'll start with the wrestling team. And Coach Pazinko had a great year, 18-8 overall record. Individual accolades that I'm sure you're going to get to there and talk about those, because I know those are special when one of our student athletes gets to compete on the state level in an individual event like that.
Right. Well, as far as the team is concerned, they won the districts for the first time in 10 years. We qualified for the states, which is always a goal. We won our first round matchup in the states. And we both broke the school record for most wins in the season, which was 18 wins. And what I most remember about this team, though, is there was a lot of team camaraderie. We had some challenges for the kids. We had one of our better athletes not be able to wrestle. And then we had one of the athletes coming back from cancer. So there was some challenges, and there was really togetherness. But individually, John Schleifer, everyone knows about him. He broke the school record for wins. He's only a junior. He was conference champ, district champ, region champ. And he'll be back in the state tournament next year to win that state championship.
And that was a close match in that state final match.
Yeah, the score didn't indicate how close it was.
Was it late? It was a late
correct
late takedown or something that made the score what it was.
Then Mike Nicolero, I'll always remember Mike, not for only what he's overcome to be an outstanding wrestler, but his victory secured the district championship for us. And that was down at Churchill, so that made it very, very exciting. Sean Glasgow is just a sophomore, and he's going to challenge, I think, John's record for most wins in a career. He's just a fierce competitor. And Michael Quinton also had another great year for us. Mike, a junior, he'll be back. He went down to the state. So we had, like I said, we had those 4 guys, 3 guys compete at the state level. And we're pretty happy about that.
Wrestling is not a sport that has any kind of development or feeder program. It's not like you have AAU basketball or you have the Blackhawks lacrosse. Well, it's something that has to be learned very quickly, I guess.
They do. There's a lot of individual places you'll go. You'll go to a guy that runs, it could be in his basement, it could be in a gym, it could be in a warehouse where they go for individual treatment. It's not a lot of team stuff. But that John and Sean and Mike, they went to that to develop themselves individually. And then a lot of wrestling, as you know, is self-motivated. So there are things out there for those kids to improve themselves. And we had a good 8th grade class under the direction of Coach Cankro. We didn't have a lot of numbers, but we had quality kids. So I think we're going to be good in the next few years.
Okay, and now we move ourselves to winter track, and for the first year in many, we're not mentioning a coach by the name of Kevin McAvoy, who has since retired and now is a member of the Board of Education. So we have a new coach, or a new coaching era, I guess, not necessarily new coaches, because these are people who have been with us for a while. But
right, so it was interesting, the winter track season. We went from being Group 4 state champs, and for the girls being very, very competitive, and that'll show you what 1 or 2 outstanding kids will do. Then with an injury here or there, and a lot of underclassmen. Because track, like wrestling, the more experienced you are, the better you're going to be. So we struggled a little bit this year, but we had great numbers. We had great team camaraderie, and I'm positive we're going to be in contention again next year. For the boys, Lee Urschel had a great year for us, and girls, Sarah Frost and Julia Westcott were outstanding for us. So it was funny, Sarah Acevedo was just on the program earlier, and she talked about winter track, and she also plays field hockey for us and certainly softball. And she said, there's nothing like winter track. I said, unless you're involved, you don't understand how challenging it is to go out there in the winter every day and to run. But that was her quote. But she said she signed up for it. She knew what she was doing. And she's a 4-year letter winner for us.
Now, for those who don't understand me, I mean, I assume that not all the events that we normally see in the spring track season are run during the winter track season because of the limitations indoors. Some of your throwing events and
well, it would be tough to do the javelin and the discus inside, but most of the other ones, or I think all of them, they may tweak a couple of the distance runs, but yeah, and it's good to go from the cross country into the winter track and then the spring track.
Now, where's the nearest facility here near us?
We go to Toms River. We do a lot of our events in Toms River. The GMC relays, GMC championships, sectionals in the States, and we've been there so often in the last few years that it's like almost like a home court advantage for us.
But you do see a lot of potential for the future here? With this?
Oh yeah, I think there's some young names, and I don't want to point any out. I don't want to put the whammy on anyone, but I think we're going to be pretty good in the future. We're going to be pretty good in the spring. You'll see the results of the young kids in the winter and how they perform in the spring.
You have a lot of that coming back, though? Because you think you maybe with
Yes.
other choices for sports, softball, lacrosse, baseball, that you might see some differences there.
Yeah, no, the track kids are track kids, and there's a great camaraderie around them, just like, and Jake talked about the unity and the bond that basketball had. The track kids, they all come together, and they know what it's like. A couple of years ago, they were walking around with state championship rings, and some of them are the brothers, and they may have been on the team as a freshman, so they have that same feeling. So they're going to be okay.
All right, we move ourselves now again indoors for the bowling team. And bowling team did okay this year. Not spectacular, but certainly we've had some up-and-coming stars there too.
Well, we had some highlights in there where we qualified for the states. We made it in a couple of rounds in the boys and girls bowling. But Coach Spieshak has got. He's a teacher at Churchill. He's recruited a lot of young kids. And bowling's one of those sports, Ken, that they. It stays in the family, kind of like wrestling. Older brothers, older sisters. So we have a lot of that going, and we're going to be in contention again. We were just on that second level this year, but Adam Nackman, Lisa Newsy were the leaders for the boys and the girls, respectively. And we attained some nice individual goals, and we got hot, beat some of the top teams in the conference during that one-on-one play, and I know they're already bowling and getting in tournaments. So under his leadership, I'm sure with Coach Spieshak, they were going to be okay.
I'm just curious because we here in East Brunswick we lost the one bowling lanes, the mid-state lanes there got redeveloped into the fitness center there. I was wondering, like, is there a kind of enthusiasm for bowling?
Oh, absolutely.
That seems to be. I mean, when I was a kid, there was a lot, and the bowling shirts were cool to wear, and there were a lot of leagues, especially for younger people. And now, not having that bowling center here in East Brunswick, having to run down to Carolier.
They're all involved in leagues, just like AAU and softball and all other leagues in town, baseball, softball. As I said. They can get involved if they want to get involved, and there's a team camaraderie there. And it's a Saturday. It's great going down there, spending Saturday and at the bowling alley, competing, exercising, having some fun for a couple hours. And that's what they need to do, keep bowling and bowling and bowling. But I do have to mention, too, the Booster Club for bowling. They're outstanding this year. Did a great job with the girls and the guys, especially on senior night.
All right, now we take a moment to acknowledge our cheerleading squad. The winter season being the last major season there that we see them involved. We don't see them in the springtime, but they had not only their normal cheer duties at our basketball games, wrestling meets, but they also have competitions too.
Well, absolutely, and it's going to get a point where eventually I think there's going to be a competition squad and a cheer squad, but that's way down the line, Ken. And you talk about putting in time into a sport, because they were practiced for competition and for the cheering at the basketball games at the same time. And when your basketball team is good, like our boys were, that extends their cheering season. And, they handled it well. They handled it like all Americans that they were. And we took 3 firsts in the competition and took a second in the state competition. And that's pretty good, I think. You get into 4 competitions and you take 3 firsts out of that. That's not a bad deal. Our senior leadership with Kelly Hayes and Alyssa Ranzio are outstanding. And we have some young kids in there. We got Jackie Giacola, who's just a talented kid. She's going to provide a lot of leadership. And with the cheerleading, they develop this bond. They hang around together, and then it's contagious, their abilities to one another. And we've got that pride going in our program. That's really, and Coach Steph Nemes did a great job with that this year. Our largest in number squad we've ever had. We had high 20s involved in cheerleading alone.
Oh,
and male and female.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A couple of years ago, it was just the one lone, but now it seems to have grown in numbers
and
too.
These guys were athletes, and they're going to be okay. Garrett will be a senior. Well, he is a senior. We're going to miss him. And he was a star wrestler for us too, but he just felt that he enjoyed the camaraderie and the atmosphere of cheerleading.
Do the cheerleaders usually do both seasons, do the fall season and then the winter season?
Well, that's a great question. And no, we have separate tryouts. We do it at the same time, and some of them will elect to cheer in both. Some will elect to just cheer in one and not the other. We've had girls, soccer players, or cross-country runners do just the winter, and then we have some kids that just do the fall and not the winter. So there's all different combinations, and it's very competitive. And the JVs, they did a great job too for us, the JV cheerleading. They were in some competitions, and I'll never forget the coach calling me all excited, just telling me how much they improved and how happy she was. And so, it's a sport.
We move to our next sport here, the swimming team, boys and girls, both posting 9-win seasons, excellent seasons in the pool there. That is surprising, because usually we have like a good crop, one females or boys, and it's not both at the same time. So I guess it was a very exciting time for the swimming team.
Yeah, they both qualified for the states again, and I would think that Coach Sundberg would agree with me when he said that they both achieved their goals. We were competitive in every meet we had. I don't think we lost a meet that we should have won. And, you can do that, Ken, because you can look at the times of people. There's no way in the world that I'm ever going to beat this particular state caliber swimmer, no matter how fast I swim. So you can see there's no way we're going to beat this team, because you can't call a timeout. You can't change your offense or defense. It's just swimming. It's like in track. So wrestling you can change. You change your lineup here and there, but swimming is just like track, just straight performance. So we won every meet we should have, and we were competitive in the ones we didn't. Coach was very pleased. And Victoria Glasscock, she's coming back. She's going to be an outstanding swimmer for us. And we're going to be okay. And Greg James, another young man, both received many awards from the media, and they were all both GMC and division winners. So, as always, swimming is going to be very, very competitive.
Who's our biggest competition locally?
Well, right now it would be the 2 parochial schools, Bishop Barr and probably St. Joseph's.
Bishop Barr for the girls, and
right.
Obviously St. Joe's for the boys. How many schools in the GMC of our normal competitive schools have swimming programs?
Well, there's 2 divisions in boys and girls, so it's at least 12 or 13. Some of them are co-ed, which means they have girls and guys swimming in the same team, but then they have to declare themselves. That's the rule, is they're a male team. So it's there's enough out there, but we have to go against the Huntingtons and the Bridgewaters and the Westfields to stay competitive.
Okay, and talking about competition and competitiveness, the basketball program was the highlight of the school winter sports season and the wonderful run that the boys basketball team made. But let's first talk about the girls team, because obviously we get overshadowed by the massive success of the boys team.
And that was tough on them. There was a great group of Red Division schools out there this year with a lot of senior leadership on their squads. And that many times I've said on this program, you may win a championship this year, but you may not be the best swimming team, basketball, football team ever. It's just that maybe the competition wasn't as strong. This year, it's kind of, the experts thought that the girls' Red Division was the strongest ever this year, and we were down a little bit, and that's why maybe we struggled somewhat. But it wasn't on lack of effort. We had some nice young kids. Jessica Duda, we only had one senior. She was our senior captain, who always gave it her best out there, and I just want to thank her for keeping that team together and keeping the spirits high. Celestine Fillmore, unfortunately during the year she got in a couple injuries, but she's going to be a good player for us in the future. But let me just read a couple other names. Certainly Dana Scafani, the coach's daughter, is an athlete. She's a player. She can play both ends of the court. She understands the game. And then we have our freshman, Allie Warren, who was recognized in a couple papers for everything she did. And she's a three-sport athlete for us. But I think with her coming back and Caitlin Rowan, Julie Simos, Samantha Flood, and Tess Rivera, all athletes. These kids are all athletes, play a few sports, and we're going to be very, again, athletic next year, and we'll be much better, we'll be more competitive. And it could be because we've improved and the other teams may be losing a couple. But the JVs had a real good year, and the girls never, ever gave up, and that's what we appreciate.
Now, the boys team, though, had this magical run, this once-in-a-generation type run through to the state tournament. Again, I don't know. Did it surprise you that it was that great a team? Because it seems like we were bubbling under, and you were always hoping, and
no, never,
suddenly, boom, it just happens.
Not surprised. I knew we'd be very, very good. Didn't know how good, because it always depends on the other team, the other school. But when we opened up with that win at St. Joe's opening day, I knew we were going to have an exceptional year. And plus, we got the best coaching staff in the state. There's no doubt about it. Henning, Montesky, Pulaski, Lane, just outstanding basketball people and good people.
And that's high praise, considering before you have this job here, you were the head boys basketball coach at our school.
It's funny, I coached two of those guys. I didn't even realize that. That's funny how you just said that. Guess I'm getting old, but they're great men, and they teach the game of basketball before they coach it. By the time they're sophomores, they understand the fundamentals in the offense and how to play the game. But let me tell you, Jake Krantz was talking about the camaraderie and the bond that they had as a team, and winning does that. And it's funny, Tiffany Wang, who was a manager for the wrestling team, she said the same thing. She was the manager, but she felt such a togetherness and a level of acceptance and like another family being involved in sports. Now, she was the manager of the wrestling team. She was at the states, she was at the districts, she was at the individual championships, and she just can't, say enough of what it's like to be involved in an athletic program. And that was her as a manager. Now I'll go back to Jake, who was, a starter for us, a great player for us, going to go on to play high school, college lacrosse. He talked about the bond, and his highlight of the year, he said, was that game at the RAC, although they lost. He said it brought the community together. He brought the school together. We had that whole side of the RAC filled with the Bears Den. And, he said that was one of his highlights, if not the. And then, of course, winning the Central Jersey Championship. at East Brunswick against Trenton, who I don't know if we've ever beaten. I never looked that up, but I told Bo before that, but he knew we were gonna win. That I don't know if the boys have ever beaten Trenton in a boys basketball game.
The loss in the GMCs at the rack, as close as it was in overtime, you could have seen this team crumble if it wasn't as strong, if it wasn't, as you said, unified, that deflating that way. I mean, St. Joe's classic rivalry at the rack, thousands of fans to go down like that, but they put that right away, and then it's focused on the state tournament.
Because the next day, that Saturday, we run the JV tournament at East Brunswick. Had 28 teams in it, and Mark Mott's team was in there playing for the finals, which they won, so congratulations to Coach Mott and that team. And 6 of the varsity players were there that I saw, that I talked to. So, boy, they got that out of their system. We had a good practice on Sunday. Coach said it was an intense practice. He had to slow it down and send them home early. He was afraid they'd kill one another. So he had no doubt in his mind that they responded the right way. 26 wins, division champs, Central Jersey Group state champs. Anyone they lost to was a state champion or that type of a club. Everyone was good. We'll go down as one of the best ever. And I always say this, when you talk about the best ever, let's see how successful they are in 15 years when they're doctors, parents, what they give to society. Well, there's no doubt in my mind, Ken, that this group, if they take all those lessons they learned and demonstrated in basketball, the intangibles about the teamwork, not caring who gets the credit, passing the ball instead of shooting the ball, helping the other person up, cheering one another on. They take those lessons, and in 15 years, our society is going to be a better place for those guys. That's how good they all are. And I'm just going to read off their names. I don't want to forget anyone, so I'm reading it from the list here. We got Demola, Gary Baumer, who broke the school record with like 93s, shattered it. And Demola was a kid who just had a metamorphosis in his body. I think he can play college basketball. It depends on where he goes. Amir Bell, as we know, he signed to go to Princeton. He's a junior. Ethan Foltz, any other team, he's a starter or a player. Alex Johnson, same thing. Any other team, he's a starter or a player. Jake Krantz, he was a 2-year starter for us. He's going to play lacrosse at Stevens Tech, 4.0 GPA. Danny Lung, most talked about player on our team. He was that John Havlicek type guy that just did everything, and just so much fun to watch and play, because he's maybe 5'11", 5'10", and he's jumping over everyone can. And his best sport may be volleyball. So we're anticipating him leading that volleyball team to the same type of titles. Pat McMullen, who was a kid who maybe played a little bit as a freshman and 8th grader, very little as a sophomore, and JV worked his way up into a positive member of the team. Great quality minutes. Had a shot at the halftime at the finals. Carl Taylor and another kid. Any other team, he's a starter. And of course, Rob Ukawuba, who our all-time leading scorer, All-State, 3rd team All-State. He's going on to play basketball in college, and just a great team, all under the direction of Coach of the Year, Henning.
As we do every season, let's take a moment to acknowledge the fine efforts of athletic trainer Phil Hostler and his staff, the unsung heroes here, putting these athletes back together after an injury or helping them through their rehabilitation. It's more than just simple, on the field triage.
Phil is the best. We all know that. He's a Hall of Famer, and Ms. DeFazio is our part-time trainer, and she's done a great job, especially down at the junior high, and we can't forget them. Let me publicly thank those coaches for everything they do in developing the fundamentals, and then eventually they become varsity athletes. But Ms. DeFazio has been down there as a part-time trainer doing a Phil Hostler job down there. So again, thank you to both of them.
Now, even though it is snowing outside presently as we speak, let's think about the spring. What do we have to look forward to for the spring sports at East Brunswick?
I don't want to make predictions, but if I were a fan of East Brunswick, I'd make sure we see our softball team, and I'd certainly make sure we see our volleyball team. Everyone else is going to be very competitive, and there's no doubt in my mind we'll demonstrate sportsmanship, improvement, tenacity, and that quality that we want in all our athletes is, always give it your best.
All right, we'd like to, again, thank the EBTV technical crew here for coming out in all of our sports seasons and broadcasting the games. You can catch this program as well as many of the other sports as well as community programs are streamed on the web at ebtv3.org, and then just click on the video on demand link to bring up all these wonderful programs. And again, our thanks to the EBTV technical crew. For Frank Noppenberger, I'm Ken Saroka. Thank you for joining us for Sports Talk. Have a great day.